Tragic collision in Lethem claims life of young motorcyclist. A 22-year-old motorcyclist, Barth Paul, tragically lost his life following a collision with a motor pickup along the Barak Retreat corridor on Thursday at approximately 1 p.m. The accident involved two Brazil-registered vehicles. The pickup was driven by a 46-year-old Brazilian national who resides in central Lethem. Preliminary investigations indicate that Paul was traveling west on the southern carriageway, while the pickup was headed north on the western side of the roadway. A collision occurred at the junction where both paths intersected, causing Paul to fall onto the roadway and sustain severe injuries, particularly to his head and body. Emergency medical technicians from the Lethem Regional Hospital arrived at the scene and transported Paul to the facility, where he was examined and later pronounced dead by the on-duty doctor. The driver of the pickup is currently in custody as investigations continue into the circumstances surrounding the accident. More details are expected to emerge as the inquiry progresses. High Court rules against GRA in tax assessment case involving Azruddin Mohammed. News source Guyana reports, the High Court has ruled that the Guyana Revenue Authority, GRA, acted unlawfully in reassessing taxes on 3 luxury vehicles imported by billionaire Azruddin Mohammed over 3 years ago, blocking the GRA from seizing the vehicles. In a decision delivered by Justice Gino Prasad, the court found that the imposition of additional taxes amounting to $421 million on Mohammed for the vehicles imported in 2020 and 2021 was arbitrary, ultra vires, unreasonable, unfair, and unlawful. Justice Prasad issued an order certiorari to quash the GRA's additional tax charges. Mohammed, now an opposition member of parliament, contested the GRA's authority to seize his Lamborghini sports car and 2 Land Cruisers, which had already been imported, cleared, and registered. The GRA claimed that Mohammed owed over $400 million in taxes, asserting that the declared costs of the luxury vehicles did not reflect their market value. For instance, the GRA contended that the Lamborghini's actual cost was $695,000, significantly higher than the $75,300 declared by Mohammed. Justice Prasad clarified that there is no provision under the Customs Act or the 5th Schedule that allows the GRA to reassess duties and taxes after the vehicles had been cleared in 2020 and 2021. He stated, "The court finds that there is no legislative support for the reassessment of duties and taxes." The judge pointed out that while the GRA could have utilized certain provisions at the time of import, it had no recourse to do so years later. The judge also mentioned that while the GRA cannot reassess taxes now, it can pursue criminal charges for false declarations if fraud is uncovered, as outlined in Sections 17 and 18 of the Customs Act. Attorney Sayan Durjan, representing Mohammed, welcomed the ruling, noting that the judge relied on multiple local cases to establish that the GRA lacked the authority for post-clearance assessments. He criticized the GRA for unnecessarily prolonging the proceedings with multiple affidavits in response to a single affidavit filed by Mohammed's legal team, deeming it an abuse of court process. The GRA has indicated its intention to appeal the court's decision, and it has been noted that the authority still owes Mohammed $300,000 as per a previous ruling by the full court. Motorcyclist dies in accident at Stanleytown, New Amsterdam News. A tragic accident in Stanleytown on Thursday afternoon has claimed the life of 22-year-old Daniel North, a resident of 8th Street Village, East Bank, Burbis. According to police headquarters, the incident occurred around 4:30 p.m. while Daniel was riding motorcycle CP 1385 in the Western Drive lane at a normal speed. It is alleged that while moving along an access road on the western side, Daniel's motorcycle struck the left front side of motorcar PLL 6600, which was being driven by a 56-year-old man. The collision resulted in Daniel being thrown from his motorcycle, sustaining severe injuries. He was quickly transported to the New Amsterdam Public Hospital. However, he tragically succumbed to his injuries while receiving treatment. The driver of the motorcar is also receiving medical attention at the same hospital. Investigations into the circumstances surrounding the incident are ongoing. Full court dismisses appeal by social media commentator Mikhail Rodriguez. The full court, comprising Justice Fidela Corbin Lincoln and Justice Nicola Pierre, has dismissed an appeal by social media commentator Mikhail Rodriguez, known as the Guyanese critic, seeking to overturn a $22.5 million defamation judgment against him. The High Court's decision remains intact, and Rodriguez is now required to pay court costs. Last year, Justice Nigel Niles ordered Rodriguez and his platform, They Break News, to pay damages totaling $22.5 million, along with an additional $3.5 million in punitive damages to Azruddin and Nazar Mohammeds for defamation. Following the ruling, Rodriguez expressed disagreement and appealed the judgment. In his appeal, Rodriguez argued that Justice Niles had erred in law and misapplied relevant legal principles, specifically regarding the extension of time for a defendant to file a response. He contended that the judge placed undue emphasis on procedural rules without adequately considering the overarching objective of determining cases fairly and on their merits. However, the full court upheld Justice Niles's decision, stating, "Having considered the decision of the learned trial judge, the grounds of appeal, and the submissions, I find that the appeal should be dismissed since the learned trial judge did not err in refusing to set aside the judgment in default." The judges pointed out that Justice Niles correctly applied the criteria for setting aside a judgment in default. They concluded that Rodriguez's explanation for failing to file a defense was unreasonable, and that the defense proposed had no real prospect of success. There is no basis upon which the court ought to disturb the learned trial judge's exercise of discretion not to set aside the default judgment, the justices stated, affirming the lower court's ruling. The full court also acknowledged that the criteria for awarding costs and the default judgment regime were properly applied, resulting in the dismissal of Rodriguez's appeal. Director of Prisons addresses corruption and contraband issues. Director of Prisons, Nicklon Elliott, has issued a strong warning against corruption within the prison system, emphasizing that anyone involved in smuggling contraband will face strict legal consequences. In a recent interview with the Newsroom, Elliott highlighted the prison service's intensified search efforts across all facilities, which have led to the discovery of numerous improvised weapons and contraband items. "Every time we search, there is a reduction in these items," he noted, asserting that these enhanced measures are yielding visible results. The crackdown on contraband is not confined to inmates. Elliott reported that, over the past 2 years, both civilians and prison officers have been prosecuted for attempting to introduce prohibited items into the prisons. Elliott urged the public to refrain from participating in any activities that could contribute to the contraband trade. "We have a zero-tolerance policy. I have a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to corruption involving prisons or officers," he stated. He expressed confidence in the ongoing efforts to ensure a significant reduction of contraband within the prison system, assuring the public that the authorities are committed to maintaining security and integrity. Tragic incident in Georgetown. Cyclist killed in collision with truck. Lennox George Benjamin, a 69-year-old resident of Prashad Nagar, tragically lost his life on Thursday afternoon after being crushed by a truck near the intersection of Lamaha Street and Vlissingen Road. According to police reports, the accident involved motor lorry #GAH 5884, driven by a 33-year-old male from Long Creek, Soesdijk-Linden Highway, and Benjamin, who was riding his bicycle. Preliminary inquiries indicate that the lorry was stationary on Lamaha Street facing west due to a red traffic signal, while Benjamin was cycling west along the left side of the lorry. When the traffic signal changed to green, the lorry driver proceeded into the intersection and made a turn south onto Vlissingen Road. During this maneuver, the left rear portion of the lorry struck the cyclist, causing Benjamin to fall onto the roadway and sustain serious injuries. Emergency medical personnel arrived on the scene, and Benjamin was examined by a doctor on duty, who pronounced him dead. His body was subsequently transported to Memorial Gardens Funeral Home, pending a post-mortem examination. A breathalyzer test conducted on the truck driver yielded a reading of 0.008. He is currently in custody, and investigations into the incident are ongoing. GPL addresses misinformation regarding electrical incident at Expo. The Guyana Power and Light Incorporated (GPL) has issued a statement to clarify misinformation circulating on social media concerning an electrical incident that occurred during Expo on Thursday, November 13th. At approximately 6 p.m., power was interrupted to around 15 booths located on the tarmac of the exhibition center. GPL's technical team responded promptly and discovered that the 50 kVA transformer servicing the area had burnt out. Initial assessments concluded that the transformer failure was due to overloading. A replacement transformer rated at 100 kVA was quickly installed. However, this unit also sustained damage upon connection to the circuit. Further inspections revealed that the root cause of the issue was an internal electrical fault within the exhibition center's internal network. To address the situation, the team isolated the affected section of the internal network and installed a new 75 kVA transformer. By approximately 8:15 p.m., power was successfully restored to the impacted booths. GPL reassures the public that this incident resulted from a surge in load demand and an internal electrical fault, rather than a failure of the broader GPL network. A team will return to the exhibition center today to conduct additional checks and troubleshooting to prevent a recurrence of the incident. Significant drop in crime rates in Guyana for 2025 Crime Chief. Chief Wendell Blanham announced that the Guyana Police Force, GPF, has recorded a notable decline in crime, with 2025 witnessing the lowest levels of serious offenses in the past decade. The statistics reveal a reduction of 801 serious crimes, falling from 1,070 in 2024 to just 269 in the current year. Blanham shared these findings on Friday during the launch of the force's Christmas policing plan, which is active from November 15, 2025 to January 15, 2026. In his breakdown of the data, Blanham noted that most crimes occurred in Region 4, the country's commercial hub, accounting for 24% of incidents. This was followed by Regions 4B and 3. Region 4B particularly recorded the highest number of murders at 24, while Region 2 had the fewest, with only 2 reports. In terms of demographics, 81% of murder victims were men, with women constituting 19%. The chief highlighted that disorderly and domestic-related murders were prevalent in this category. Robberies also saw a significant decrease, with 270 reported cases in 2025, down from a peak of 1,237 in prior years. Firearm-related robberies were most prevalent in the evening hours, particularly between 6 p.m. and midnight, with pistols being the most commonly seized weapons. However, reports of cybercrime increased to 241, leading to 50 charges and 12 convictions. Authorities successfully seized 233 kilograms of cocaine and 100 firearms from various countries including the U.S., Brazil, Austria, and Italy. Blanham reaffirmed the GPF's commitment to maintaining the highest standards of policing. He stated that the downward crime trends reflect the ongoing efforts of law enforcement to enhance public safety, especially during bustling periods like the upcoming Christmas season. Commissioner Hicken, Georgetown gas station bombing not linked to previous incidents. Commissioner of Police Clifton Hicken announced on Friday that the recent bombing at the Mobil gas station in Georgetown does not appear to be connected to 2 similar incidents from earlier this year. Speaking during the launch of the force's Christmas policing plan, Hicken shared insights from ongoing investigations, stating, "Based on our investigation, there is no motive that would point us to the collaboration of the others." He emphasized the enhanced safety measures being implemented by the joint services, saying, "Now, as a joint service, we can better protect our country." When pressed about the motive behind the gas station attack, which tragically resulted in the death of 6-year-old Soraya Bourne, Hicken noted, "That cannot be said at this time. The matter is before the court." The bombing at the Mobil gas station on Regent and King Streets occurred on October 26th, leading to the charges of terrorism against 7 individuals, including alleged mastermind Daniel Alexander Ramirez Podemo, a Venezuelan national. These accused individuals are currently before the courts. Earlier this year, explosions occurred at the East Ruimveldt Police Outpost and the Guyana Power and Light Substation at Mandela Avenue, but investigations suggest that these incidents are separate from the recent gas station bombing. Government of Guyana enforces zero-tolerance policy on illegal mining. In alignment with its zero-tolerance stance on illegal mining operations, the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, GGMC, is actively conducting joint agency operations in the Ireng area to combat unlawful mining practices and related issues. During these recent operations, multiple illegal mining sites were identified, resulting in the confiscation of equipment and minerals in accordance with regulatory guidelines. Several non-nationals were detained, and appropriate recommendations for charges are expected to follow. These joint efforts underscore a continued commitment to reducing non-compliance within the mining sector. The GGMC has expressed concern over certain political parties attempting to exploit the situation for their own agendas. The Commission firmly rejects any attempts to politicize enforcement actions, which are strictly conducted under the law, established procedures, and with the national interest in mind. The government of Guyana emphasizes that these serious violations will be addressed decisively and without exception. All relevant agencies are engaged in ensuring that the law is upheld, offenders are held accountable, and that mining operations across the nation conform to the standards and regulations designed to protect both the sector and the country. GRA officers attacked during smuggling operation in Berbice. In the early hours of Thursday, November 13, 2025, officers from the Law Enforcement and Investigation Division, LEID, of the Guyana Revenue Authority, GRA, were attacked by suspected smugglers during an enforcement operation near number 61 village, Berbice. The operation targeted a large wooden motor vessel carrying a significant quantity of uncustomed goods, including alcoholic beverages. The customs enforcement officers successfully detained the vessel and its occupants. However, while escorting the vessel to a processing facility near number 43 village, the officers were ambushed by a group of men who forcibly reclaimed the vessel and its cargo. Thanks to prompt collaboration with the Guyana Police Force and the Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit, 4 individuals involved in the ambush have been apprehended and will face prosecution for their actions. Efforts are still underway to locate the seized vessel and its contents. The GRA reiterates its zero-tolerance policy on smuggling. Individuals attempting to import or export goods to defraud the Revenue Authority of duties are committing an offense, punishable by penalties and/or imprisonment as outlined in Section 218 of the Customs Act, Chapter 82:01. The GRA encourages the public to report any suspicious or unlawful activities related to smuggling by contacting them at telephone number 227-6060 with extensions 3201, 3204, 3205, 3206, 3211, 3212, or 3408. All information provided will be treated with strict confidentiality, and informants may be eligible for rewards in accordance with the Customs Act provisions. Oyana Stewart granted bail after manslaughter charge. Oyana Stewart, a 28-year-old resident of Vismar, Linden, has been granted bail in the amount of $600,000 after being charged with manslaughter on Friday. She is accused of fatally stabbing her boyfriend, 30-year-old Kevin Alexander, also from Vismar. Stewart appeared before Magistrate Rochelle Liverpool at the Linden Magistrates Court. She was not required to enter a plea to the indictable charge, and the case has been adjourned until December 18, 2025. Reports indicate that the incident occurred on Monday night during a domestic dispute. According to the police narrative, an argument escalated between Alexander and Stewart, during which Stewart allegedly stabbed Alexander once in the left side of his abdomen. Following the incident, relatives and concerned citizens swiftly transported the injured man to the Linden Hospital complex, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival by the attending physician. The case continues to draw public attention as it unfolds. Guyana Development Bank to launch by early 2026. President Dr. Irfan Ali announced on Thursday evening that the government is actively implementing measures to establish the Guyana Development Bank, which is expected to be fully operational by the end of the first quarter of 2026. In his remarks at the opening ceremony of Expo 2025, President Ali stated that the administrative and legal framework for the new bank is currently under development. Once operational, the Guyana Development Bank will work in conjunction with existing commercial banks, which will be required to reduce interest rates below 4% to enhance access to financing for small and medium enterprises, SMEs. The bank aims to provide transformative lending opportunities, including 0% interest loans that will not require collateral. This initiative will place strong emphasis on key productive sectors, the president highlighted, pointing out agriculture, tourism, services, and other value-creating activities as primary focuses. This, of course, will lead to the creation of tens of thousands of business opportunities, President Ali added, emphasizing the potential for economic growth and job creation through the bank's initiatives. The establishment of the bank will be supported by approximately $200 million in seed funding, marking a significant investment in the country's development infrastructure and entrepreneurial landscape. Tragic loss. 17-year-old Colwyn Collis Seeley dies after car crash. 17-year-old Colwyn Collis Seeley, affectionately known as Colo, tragically lost his life following a car accident on the Bath Settlement Public Road, West Coast Burbus. He succumbed to severe head, spinal, and neck injuries at the Georgetown Public Hospital after the accident early Sunday morning. The only son in a family of 5 siblings, Colwyn's death leaves a profound impact on his family, particularly on his father, who has been a single parent since the loss of his wife 11 years ago. Colwyn's close friend, 15-year-old Jaden Edward, remains in critical condition. Colwyn's sister, 22-year-old Candida Seeley, recounted their last interactions. On Saturday afternoon, Colwyn returned home from work and expressed his intention to rent a car. Despite her concerns about his lack of a driver's license, he jokingly made comments about his funeral attire. "I told him to stop talking stupidness," Candida recalled. After attending his school prom that night, Colwyn went out with friends, later seen with Jaden near a rented vehicle. Candida became worried when he didn't return home, eventually falling asleep in her clothes. The family received the devastating news the following morning. "Around 6:30 my cousin came and told us Colwyn was in an accident," she said, recalling the frantic race to the hospital. Doctors stated his condition was dire with a 50-50 chance of survival. During their hospital visits, the family clung to hope as Colwyn showed signs of life, raising his arms to comfort them. Tragically, they received a call the next day informing them of his passing. Described as funny, hardworking, and kind, Colwyn was well-loved by family and friends. He was known for his dedication, having worked as a carpenter alongside his father while pursuing his studies. As a talented football player, he brought joy to those around him. Confusion surrounds the circumstances of the car rental, with reports suggesting that Colwyn accessed the vehicle without proper authorization. The rental agreement remains unclear, as the owner's son later admitted to hiding the arrangement from his mother due to Colwyn's age and lack of a driver's license. Colwyn's father, also named Colwyn Seeley, struggles to cope with the loss of his only son, reflecting on their close relationship. "We had a wonderful and happy relationship," he shared, recalling moments spent fishing and playing sports together. He had dreams. He wanted to go to TI to learn to be an electrician. His father lamented, reflecting on unfulfilled potential. The family is now left heartbroken, grappling with the sudden loss. "I love my son. He's gone and I can't get him back," the elder Seeley said quietly. This tragedy serves as a poignant reminder of the unpredictable nature of life and the cherished bonds within families. Terrorism case update. Accused remanded as disclosures continue. The case related to the deadly terrorist attack at the mobile gas station resumed on Wednesday at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, where all accused individuals were remanded as additional disclosures were presented. Before acting Chief Magistrate Faith McGusty, the defendants included 33-year-old Venezuelan Daniel Alexander Ramirez Podemo, 44-year-old Venezuelan Alexander Betancourt, Venezuelan national Crystal La Cruz, and Guyanese national Johnny Boudram. Prosecutors submitted more disclosures, and the next hearing was scheduled for the submission of final documents. Boudram's attorney, Mikel Perron, informed reporters that he had requested several crucial documents from the police, such as the station diary, charge sheet, and feeding books that pertain to the period of October 27th to November 3rd, covering the time Boudram was in custody before his court appearance. "This standard procedure ensures all relevant information is available to defend my client," Perron stated, adding that he also asked for the original taxi service ID and base receipts. Discussing the upcoming procedural steps, Perron explained, "The prosecution must disclose all additional evidence and documents before the paper committal proceedings begin. I will then have the opportunity to submit my statements. All defendants remain in custody, with the matter adjourned until December 3, 2025. Concurrently, cases involving other suspects, Wayne Correa, 44, Ramesh Pramdio, and Jennifer Rodriguez, are set to be addressed on November 24. Perron raised concerns regarding the police's handling of the case, alleging they were abusing the course by implicating multiple individuals without adequate evidence. He also highlighted a Facebook post made by Boudram's wife, which the police claimed constituted a cybercrime. Her post merely showed videos of the standard taxi-based service owner removing the taxi logo from the vehicle before Johnny's arrest, which is crucial evidence, Perron argued, emphasizing the importance of the logo in proving the vehicle's identity as a taxi. Last week, the suspects had their first court appearance concerning the October 26 bombing at the mobile gas station on Regent Street, Georgetown. Podemo faces a specific charge of committing an act of terrorism, allegedly using an explosive device that resulted in the tragic death of 6-year-old Soraya Bourne. He has not yet entered a plea. Betancourt, La Cruz, and Boudram are jointly charged with aiding and abetting Podemo in the attack, and have also not been required to plead. All accused individuals have been remanded to prison, with the Guyanese defendants asserting their innocence in this grave matter. All were unrepresented in court, except Boudram. Daily oil production in Stabroek Block reaches 900,000 barrels. Daily oil production in the Stabroek Block has surged to 900,000 barrels, marking a significant milestone announced by ExxonMobil Guyana and its co-venturers. This achievement follows the successful startup of Guyana's fourth offshore oil project, Yellowtail, which has now reached its initial annual average production capacity of 250,000 barrels of oil per day. Alastair Routledge, president of ExxonMobil Guyana, highlighted the ongoing success of operations in the Stabroek Block, emphasizing safety and industry-leading performance. Guyana's story is one of continuous achievements due to the close collaboration with the government of Guyana, our co-venturers, suppliers, contractors, and employees. Together, we are building a world-class energy sector that delivers significant value for the people of Guyana, he stated. The Stabroek co-venturers have committed over $60 billion for the development of 7 projects within the offshore Stabroek Block, including Waru, Whiptail, and Hammerhead. The Waru and Whiptail projects, described as Guyana's 5th and 6th projects, are each anticipated to produce approximately 250,000 barrels of oil per day, BOPT. Operations for these projects are expected to commence in 2026 and 2027, respectively. Additionally, the Hammerhead project is projected to add around 150,000 BOPT when it begins production in 2029. ExxonMobil also mentioned that the 8th project, Longtail, is currently undergoing regulatory reviews, indicating continued growth and development in Guyana's oil sector. With this increase in production, Guyana solidifies its position as a key player in the global oil industry, contributing significantly to the nation's economic growth and development. AG Nanlal clarification on extradition expenses between the U.S. and Guyana. In response to yesterday's front-page headline in the Stabroek News, titled Extradition Treaty says requesting party must pay their expenses, we wish to clarify the interpretation of Article 13 of the Extradition Treaty between the United States of America and Guyana. The article states that all expenses connected with the extradition shall be borne by the high contracting party making the application, which has been interpreted to mean that the requesting state, the USA, is responsible for the expenses associated specifically with the extradition itself, not those incurred during the extradition process. To clarify, the extradition occurs after a formal decision has been made, and the expenses connected with this action refer primarily to the costs related to transporting the individual being extradited to the requesting country, here the USA. These expenses are indeed the responsibility of the United States. Conversely, the costs associated with the legal process leading up to the extradition, including the provision of legal representation, have always been borne by Guyana, as recognized by our legislation and practices over the years. This understanding has been corroborated by the Director of Public Prosecutions, who has held his position for over 2 decades and has been involved in numerous extradition cases. For instance, in the case of Marcus Bisram, when the government of Guyana sought his extradition from the United States, the U.S. government provided legal services for the proceedings in the U.S. Once the extradition decision was granted, it was the government of Guyana that covered the transportation costs of Bisram back to Guyana. Consultations with several Caribbean jurisdictions have indicated that similar practices are standard in their extradition procedures. Given this context, one might wonder why Stabroek News, as a prominent and influential media outlet, would choose to publish articles that could potentially detract from the collaborative efforts of 2 nations working together to ensure that fugitives face justice across borders. This is a question that remains for them to answer. This statement aims to clarify the public record regarding this matter. Traffic chief reports 110 road deaths in 2025, urges enhanced road safety measures. A total of 110 individuals have lost their lives in traffic accidents across the country this year, following 99 fatal incidents. This statistic marks a slight increase from 107 deaths arising from 95 fatal accidents in the same period in 2024. Traffic Chief Mahendra Singh expressed concern over the rising numbers, despite an overall 8% reduction in traffic accidents. It's an increase. 1 death is one too many, Singh stated during a recent interview with the newsroom. Singh explained that while traffic calming measures implemented in several high-traffic areas, particularly in Georgetown, have successfully reduced minor collisions, they have yet to lead to a decrease in fatal accidents. He identified speeding, inattentiveness, and the tendency of both drivers and pedestrians to cross into moving traffic as the principal causes of these tragic incidents. Pedestrians continue to use the road as if they are the only class of road user using that space at the same time, he remarked, highlighting the need for greater awareness among all road users. The traffic chief also criticized the lack of discipline displayed by some motorists, suggesting that improved attention, journey planning, and vehicle maintenance could significantly reduce accidents. The discipline with which the road is used by motorists leaves much to be desired. If drivers paid more attention to detail, much of what we are experiencing would be mitigated, he noted. Singh added that the heavy traffic situation in Georgetown often leads to frustrations among drivers, which can result in reckless behavior. In recognition of November as Road Safety Awareness Month, under the theme Careful Driving Saves Lives, Singh announced that the Traffic Department will intensify efforts to educate the public, enhance enforcement, and integrate more technology to monitor road safety effectively. For Road Safety Month, we are seeking to spread the message as widely as possible and will enforce the regulations as needed, he emphasized. He urged citizens to take collective responsibility for road safety, stating, "Every one of us has a role to play. As a driver, it's crucial to leave home with the intention of returning safely. Speed will never be the answer." President Ali issues stern warning to gold producers over underreporting. President Dr. Irfan Ali has issued a firm warning to gold producers engaged in underdeclaring their production, asserting that the government will intensify efforts to close loopholes and combat significant revenue losses in the sector. Speaking at the opening ceremony of Expo 2025, the president stated that the government will come after you hard to ensure full compliance with declaration requirements. Dr. Ali highlighted the substantial economic impact of gold smuggling, citing a specific case where one smuggler's actions allegedly resulted in over $190 billion in losses to the national economy. Imagine from one gold smuggler alone, this economy lost more than $190 billion, he remarked, emphasizing the urgency of addressing such issues. He underscored the need for systemic changes to prevent future occurrences of smuggling, stating, "We must ensure our system does not produce those kinds of people anymore. The system must be designed to ensure these leakages are removed." The president lamented that the funds lost to smuggling could have been utilized to support local small and medium enterprises and cash grant programs. Dr. Ali's comments come in the wake of ongoing legal challenges faced by prominent Guyanese businessmen Azruddin Mohammed and his father, Nazar Mohammed. The 2 individuals, linked to Mohammed's enterprise, have been indicted in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida on 11 charges, which include gold smuggling, wire fraud, and money laundering. In 2024, both men were sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, for their alleged involvement in corrupt practices and illicit gold trading. Extradition proceedings against the Mohammeds are currently in progress, highlighting the government's commitment to tackling corruption and illegal activities within the gold sector.